3, 2, 1.
What's up everyone, Dan here, Crypto Capital Venture, November 6th, 2018. I hope you're doing well. In this video, we're going to talk about Bitcoin. Markets are moving a little bit. Bitcoin not moving as much, however, showing some interesting moves in terms of a couple patterns on the 4-hour charts. That's what we're going to talk about today. Testing the upper trend line. Could be a potential breakout on the way, or at least a nice sign of support for Bitcoin. Let's talk about it. Let's start real quick for just nice foundation to the video, the weekly chart. We have just this really nice, these really nice higher lows on this weekly chart. And as we approach the apex of this longer term triangle, you can just see the insane consolidation in the last few weeks that Bitcoin has had. It's not only interesting to watch, but it's very fun to watch. It's beginning to become exciting to anticipate where we go next, because as we tighten up into this apex, we're going one way or another. So let's start on the daily before we hop into the 4-hour chart, just to look at something. This is really what we've been talking about a lot lately for the last month or so, which is this area here of $7,100 to $6,900. You see it on the screen right there. And essentially, we have a ways to go before we get to that area, but it really is that Fibonacci channel of 618 to 786 that you see right here on the screen. And that's really, in terms of my short-term bullish price target or bullish goal, that is the area I'm looking for Bitcoin to really test, to really give us an idea of, did we find the bottom and are we going to continue going up? Because if we do break through that area, that channel, we'll also be breaking through that 200 EMA, and we'll also be breaking through this upper trend line. It's a huge area of resistance right now for Bitcoin. So if we can manage to get up there and break through it, it's a beautiful sign. It would be a beautiful thing to see. But first things first, let's go over to the 4-hour, because we have other resistance on the shorter time frames and in shorter time frame patterns that we need to look for. So right now, we have a couple things going on the 4-hour. We have this longer term 4-hour descending triangle, which we've also talked about in our videos. And one thing you can see is Bitcoin recently has really tested it a couple times. And right now, we're actually above the upper trend line. And we have just, kind of some sideways trading right now. It's like there's really not much volatility. But one thing I am looking at is confluent support at the 200 EMA. And we're going to go into an even more zoomed in version of that chart. And you can see when I say confluent support, here's that upper trend line that we just saw, right, in that larger triangle. And here is the 200 EMA. And you can see they coincide, and we're looking for support right now there. At least that's what I'm watching on the 4-hour. So the other thing we have going on is you see this upper trend line of the rising wedge that we've talked about as well on this channel. This is probably our shortest term pattern that we've been watching. So you can see a couple things going on right now. So number one, we have the upper trend line of the longer term triangle, right? Which is this triangle right here you see on the screen. We have that upper trend line, which is right here, coinciding with this upper trend line of the rising wedge right there. And you can see just a couple days ago, when was this? This is November 4th. You can see we tested both upper trend lines and we failed. Bitcoin failed and we kind of came back down. But since then, we've broken back above the longer term trend line, upper trend line, which you see right here on the screen. We've broken back above it. So our next short-term goal is twofold for Bitcoin in terms of, and when I say goal, really it's kind of what I'm watching for a target to see if Bitcoin can break through to really speak to a possible bullish move. So right now we have two things. Number one, we need to maintain support above this upper trend line and this confluent 200 EMA. And number two, we need to continue upward in this rising wedge to test the upper trend line of this wedge and actually break it. So right now it's around 64 or 64.60. That's right around the upper trend line. That's right around where it is. So just to give you some context to what that looks like for Bitcoin, that's around not even 1% away. So it won't take much for Bitcoin to break above that upper trend line. In doing so, we'd be above the upper trend line in the short-term rising wedge, right? So it would look something like this. And we'd be above the upper trend line of this longer-term triangle over here. So we'd be above both of those, and it really would be the first signal, the first sign that we're going to maybe at least get the first steps towards testing this key resistance area that we started this video off with on the daily chart. And also, I will say, maybe most importantly, if we do hit these targets on the short term and we break above that upper trend line on the rising wedge, you will see that we also Bitcoin will be above the 50 EMA right here. There's the 50 EMA, a huge area of resistance for Bitcoin. So we're in a really critical area to watch out for in terms of resistance, because if we get a bounce down off these areas, it won't really be anything new in terms of just seeing resistance at the 50 EMA and just more failure. Then we would have to start trying to look for support and maybe, just creating a new higher low in Bitcoin in this long-term trend of higher lows in this longer-term pattern that we have here. So not out of the question at all, but also fun to watch Bitcoin right now as it does its thing. See if we can hit some short-term targets, which will lead us to the longer-term targets, which is that Fibonacci channel and all these other things going on right there. So that's my thought. Those are my thoughts for today, November 6th, Bitcoin technical analysis. I hope you're hanging in there. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're enjoying the markets, not getting too stressed out. As always, I will see you in the next video, and God bless.